We're in phase 2C, the part where we actually do something. Phase 2B mapped how the system got corrupted and the nervous system was stuck on defense mechanisms, weaponized. The shadow and demon inside you turned against you instead of protecting you from things like lions and tigers and bears. Oh my! Conclusion, not your fault. You're not broken. It's a normal response to abnormal inputs. But now we need tools that actually work to deal with this. So we're going to start with the shadow. Yeah, we're going to do some shadow work. And no, you can't just put it on the to-do list, check the box, and move on. I know, that would have been so much easier. So, to get into a little detail about the shadow work you need to do, I'm going to get a little more specific because there are actually 4 variants of guardians. If you already know your MBTI type, I'll give you the letter code, but if you don't worry. The names tell you what you need to know. And each one of the variants will try to get out of this in a completely predictable way. So let me lay it out. First, we'll go with the Steward, or the ISTJ in MBTI. They already filed their shadow in a mental cabinet labeled dealt with and moved on. They didn't deal with it. They just labeled it. And they enjoyed it. Stronghold, ISFJ in MBTI terms. They will take care of everyone else's shadow work for them. Their own? I'm fine. Who needs help? The Prime Mover, or ESTJ in MBTI lettering. They created a spreadsheet for shadow integration with quarterly milestones. The spreadsheet became the substitute for the actual work, but it's a great spreadsheet. The social connector, or the ESFJ in MBTI types. They process their shadow by talking about it with 12 different people. And somehow, never sat with it alone, but they really did help the 12. And I want you to sit back now. Think of those 4. If you're a guardian and you're here and that fits, does any of those 4 work? If not, that might be more complicated and you might want to look at another temperament playlist. But there's 4 sides of you, and one of you's a guardian. We're trying to reach the primary one in the relaxed state. So anyway, if any of those 4 resonated, that's yours. And that discomfort you felt when you got the I'll handle it doesn't work here, because this isn't just a task, it's a process. So we're going to talk about how to communicate, because there's a big issue. The shadow is in your unconscious, which means you're not aware of it, and it doesn't speak language, it speaks symbols and other input. And it's not going to speak you in a way that you can just easily organize. It's not going to give you bullet points, not a spreadsheet, not a checklist, no procedure manual. It is your right hemisphere processing things where there is no language. That's on the other side. It thinks in symbols or images or feelings without labels or intuitions that pop up. And I know that's uncomfortable because you want something tested, something proven, a protocol that worked for someone before you. And that's fair enough. But here's your protocol. So I've got guideposts for shadow work, and people have done shadow work, and it's worked. Carl Jung used it clinically, and therapists use symbolic language now for shadow work. So it does work. But the output won't look like what you're used to. The data comes in a format that you'll just want to reject at first. But try and trust the process. You've trusted processes before that might have seemed weird at first. And this would be one of those. And yes, this will be uncomfortable. And no, you can't delegate it to anybody else. Tomorrow we're going to talk about keeping yourself calm while you're doing it. So hold on to your horses. So we're going to do the work. We're going to do it anyway, even if it's uncomfortable, because it's necessary. In the long run, you'll be happy with yourself. So let's talk about dream analysis. And here's the good news. You already know how to keep a log. You can track things, you can file things, you remember details that other people might forget. So this is the same skill applied to a different input. So keep a notebook by your bed and a pen or pencil. And when you wake up, immediately capture the dream before the conscious mind tries to reorganize it into some sort of neat story. Just don't interpret it yet. Just record. What do you remember? But note 3 things. Put the date down and your stress level like the day before and when you're waking up now. And then look at the emotion of the dream. How are you feeling in it? So stress dreams for guardians, you know these. The house is crumbling, you can't find your car, you're late, and everything is going wrong, and you forgot something critical. It's the loss of order. Everything you built is falling apart. How stressful. And I did have some of my patients track this, their stress level, the time, plus the dream themes and the emotions. Over time, the pattern becomes obvious. There are recurring symbols that emerge. Maybe the same images, the same emotions, the same unresolved questions. So that's the pattern that will emerge with your tracking. That's what your unconscious is trying to tell you. You can organize the output very well compared to other types. But, not every dream means something deep. Sometimes it's just the pizza you ate at 10 o'clock. But log it anyway. Log the pattern, and let the pattern speak for itself. So let's talk about symbol systems. So Jung used symbols with his patients. These archetypal images, archetypes are things that repeat no matter what the level of order. So these archetypes trigger associations in your unconscious. You show someone an image and watch their reaction. The reaction is the data itself. Now, there are hundreds of formal symbol systems out there. Some of them that people use are tarot for symbolism, not for telling the future or anything. There are things like oracle cards, all kinds of things like that. Some are very pretty and practical looking. And some of you might already be interested in have something, or maybe not. But if so, if you have it, it's good. They are like a valid tool because you see the symbol in the card and that helps you process what's in that right side of your brain. But here's what I think will land better for most of you. You've already got symbol systems. They're just embedded in traditions. Like you might keep things around, like your grandmother's recipe card and her handwriting. Why did you keep that? Or a family Bible or religious book or, important books for your family. Or the heirloom jewelry in the drawer. The photograph or the albums you can never throw away, or ones you like to look at periodically. And maybe holiday traditions. You insist on keeping them when some people don't even understand why. Or a song that plays that reminds you of something you might play at family gatherings. And so these are symbols too. They're all just not images on cards. They carry some sort of unconscious meaning for you. They're just embedded in the things you keep around you and the rituals you protect instead of a deck of cards. So think about it. Which objects would you grab in a fire? Not the expensive ones, the ones that mean something to you. That meaning is unconscious content attached to that physical object that you so prioritize you would risk everything in a fire to go get. The same mechanism as the tarot, just a different interface. That might be more comfortable for you. And if you played board games growing up, who always had to be the banker in Monopoly? Who played Risk and took it way too seriously? Or Boggle? Who organized the whole neighborhood for Capture the Flag and got mad when people didn't follow the rules? The choices of the games and the rules and what was important to you, those weren't random. Those are your unconscious showing you something about who you are and what you value. If your reaction to all this is, that's a stretch, well, fine. But the objects you keep and the traditions you protect are telling you something. The question is whether you're listening. And let's talk about active imagination. This was Jung's own method. He documented it in the Red Book. Actual dialogues he had with unconscious figures. It was published posthumously by his family after he died, and he wrote it back in the early 20th century, but it is worth looking at. Now, this one might feel like the biggest stretch for you because it's not concrete, it's not organized, it's not something you can just check off. But here's the thing, you already do a version of this. That conversation you replay in your head all the time, those tapes, the ones where you said the wrong thing, or you hurt someone, or you keep rehearsing what you should have done or said. That's like active imagination. So you're already doing it. We're just going to redirect it. So take a recurring image, a persistent feeling or worry, or just something that bothers you and keeps playing in your head, whatever keeps showing up uninvited. Engage it directly. Give it a voice. It might sound like yours, might sound like somebody in your past. Ask it questions. So there's a teacher and practitioner named Liam Christopher on YouTube I've watched, and he has a solid framework, different area, but a takeaway from it is he asked if you're looking at your unconscious and things that are uninvited. He said, ask it 3 questions for your unconscious complexes to answer you back. So if this worry or thing keeps coming back, ask it, what do you want first? Then you kind of hopefully figured something out. Ask, well, what do you really need? And then the third thing you ask is how you feel when you get what you need. So you have unresolved things. Ask 3 questions, process. You can document your process. And you're creating conditions for something very deep to come up in a structured way. So structure, that's the key word. Not just chaos, not free floating, like, oh, that's maddening, these things don't go away. Give it a structured dialogue. Now, entry points. I'm going to talk, more shadow stuff. What drives you crazy about other people? What makes you clench your jaw? The steward, so we'll go back to the 4 types. The steward, the ISTJ, gets furious about people who don't follow through with their commitments. The stronghold, or ISFJ, can't stand it when people take advantage of others' kindness and generosity. The prime mover loses it when people are lazy and expect everyone else to pick up the slack. That's the ENTJ. And the social connector, or the ENFJ, is enraged by ungrateful people who don't appreciate what's being done for them. So we talked about what worries you in your head, and then what in the environment just always gets you. So the thing that makes you clench your jaw, that's a door. The thing you're most angry about in others is connected to something in you that needs attention. It's a fear or criticism. And I know I didn't like hearing that either. So let's talk about creative expression, because your unconscious also speaks through what you create. So mandalas. Jung drew them daily during his psychological crisis that he talks about in the Red Book. They're circular, they're emergent, they're unplanned. The patterns that appear will tell you something. Using that right hemisphere again. And if you're thinking, I can't draw, get a mandala coloring book and get some markers. The act of choosing the colors, seeing patterns emerge, that still accesses the unconscious. Plus, it's surprisingly calming. That adult coloring with a purpose. Structure, you like that. And it gets the parasympathetic system online, that calming system, that relaxed state. Even idle doodling contains data. Do you remember when did you draw? In meetings or in school, when you weren't really just like thinking, you were just like waiting for the thing to get over. I used to draw spirals and infinity signs all over my notebooks in high school. And I had no idea why. But now I'm building a framework about consciousness, integration, and infinite patterns. My unconscious was leaving breadcrumbs decades before I knew how to read them. And you can do other things besides doodling or drawing or coloring. You can do crafting or woodworking or gardening or cooking without a recipe. Whatever you make with your hands when you're not following instructions, that's the channel. Your unconscious is smarter than your conscious mind in a way, and I know it doesn't seem very efficient, but it's still true. It's just how we're made. So here's the practical problem. The mental health system is not equipped to meet the demand of the crisis right now and the aftermath. We're in a mental health crisis. We're in a loneliness epidemic. Structures are collapsing around us. So it's stressful, and you can find a good therapist, and I encourage that. But not everyone needs a medical model to help them through this. There's grassroots community that can help too. You might be great at starting shadow work groups or craft groups or art groups, people supporting each other through the process. Now, you already know how to show up for other people. You're the ones who organize things, who volunteer, who remembers everyone's birthday and bring food when someone's sick. You know how to hold space for others. When was the last time someone held it for you? So that's the issue. Not whether you'll show up, whether you'll let yourself be the one who receives. In-person connection is the key variable, and you have to be in the circle, not just running it. The doom scrolling. Let me talk to you about that. I know you think you're staying informed. It's not just that, though. You're watching the world you care about fall apart through the screen. Every institution eroding, every tradition disappearing, every system you trusted is failing. And that's not just staying informed, that's like self-punishment. It's torture. The people who built those apps knew exactly what they're doing. They want to keep you engaged. They want hits. They want money for advertising. So they're feeding you a loop of everything is getting worse because it will keep you scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. So sometimes you just need to put the phone down and go do something real. You're better at the real things anyway. And this is finding meaning and purpose besides just being in a panic or shut down because of all the bad news. It erodes your nervous system. It's not healthy. So we have some tools now about what we're going to look at. And again, in the next video, I'm going to talk about how to take care of yourself while you do this. So dream log, put the date, the stress level, emotion, images. Then you've got your symbol systems, including the traditions and objects that already carry meaning in your life. You write about this. Active imagination. Think about those tapes that play in your head and redirect those conversations that you're already replaying to something with structure so you can make sense and maybe they'll stop finally. The creative expression with your hands. And the critical variable here is community. Not you just organizing it, but being in it. This is like co-regulation I've talked about. Calm people come together, or the calm ones in the room help the anxious ones because calm is catchy and that's the goal. We need calm to do the work. So listen, you're the ones who keep things running. You always have been. But you can't maintain the structure if the foundation is cracked. Your own foundation, I'm talking now. So do this work so that you build, and what you build, and keep building the foundation and keep going. So do it so this can actually hold. And next episode, like I said, we're going to point to the tools because your shadow isn't random, it's predictable. And I'll show you exactly where it hides for each of the 4 types. And then how to keep yourself sane through all this in the coming episode. I'll see you there.